Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Go ahead and like this video, share this video. You know what? Just go ahead and follow us on all of our Just So You Know social media platforms. Okay, so not too long ago, when I had first started to just fall in love with all things history and archaeology, my bro hits me up.
And he was like, yo, E, you know the Dead Sea Scroll exhibit is coming to town. And then I was like, the what? And he goes, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I'm still like really confused. And then he's all like, how you don't know about the Dead Sea Scrolls? And I still have no idea what he's talking about.
But it wasn't until I was like officially in school that I really got why the Dead Sea Scrolls were so important. And so y'all, the Dead Sea Scrolls are so great, so important that I just had to make a video about them. So you know what? Let's get into it. Let's talk about these Dead Sea Scrolls. So the story of how the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered goes a little something like this. In 1946 or 1947, there were these Bedouin shepherds out in the Dead Sea region, hence the name Dead Sea Scrolls.
Anyway, as the story goes, one of the sheep gets away, climbing up into one of the nearby caves.
And so instead of climbing these steep hills up to these cliffs, he would just kind of get close enough, take a rock, throw it into the cave, and hope that that would be enough to scare out any sheep that might be hiding or staying in that cave.
And so one throws a rock in one of the cave openings and they hear the shattering of some pottery. And he sees these pottery shards and fragments, these strange writings. And of course, there's this big oblong kind of shaped jar.
He took that back to his people, to his family. They kind of looked at it, were like, oh, this might be something. If nothing else, maybe it can get us a little bit of money. But what I always love about this story is they're like, but if not, it's okay. It's leather. We'll just use it to repair our sandals. So supposedly he goes to an antiquities dealer, and luckily that person was smart enough to realize it's probably something.
And then when it's open, it's revealed this manuscript, which would later be discovered that this is Hebrew.
Once researchers understood that these were ancient Hebrew writings, they realized that they had discovered 7 different scrolls.
So once word got out that some ancient scrolls were found in one of these caves in the Dead Sea area, honey, let me tell you, researchers were all up in these caves trying to find more scrolls. And when I tell you they found more, baby, they found more. In 11 of these caves, they found almost 1,000 more scrolls.
Wait a minute. Did you say 1,000?
Yes, I did.
Girl, that's a lot. 1,000? I thought you was gonna say between 15 and 20 or something.
At least 50. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Girl, 1,000?
Girl, that's a lot. It really is, though.
So we go from one cave with just 7 scrolls to 11 caves with about 1,000 scrolls.
And it gets better.
So get this, one of these scrolls is made of copper.
Cave 3, they found a copper scroll.
Which you can tell by its name, is written on copper. It's known as the Copper Scroll.
And what's real interesting about this copper scroll, other than it being made of copper, of course, is that it's actually kind of like a treasure map. But that's a whole nother video in and of itself.
There's a few that are written on papyrus as well.
And this is a type of paper that is made from a papyrus plant. And you can spot papyrus paper by these fine little lines that you see on the paper. But most of these scrolls are written on parchment,
which is basically animal skin. So what they would have to do is they would just put pieces together and they would sew them so they can have a parchment as long as they need it for. And they would actually basically make their own lined paper. They would have lines that they would score into it so that they could write on those lines. Really actually underneath the lines is how they did it, instead of like us on top of the line. So they made sure they had everything prepared.
The Dead Sea Scrolls are primarily written in Hebrew and Aramaic. And you have one cave where you found Greek manuscripts, or Greek fragments, if you will. And so primarily just those three languages, but predominantly Hebrew, secondarily Aramaic, third would be Greek.
And it gets even better. 38% of these writings were like Jewish theological or religious writings. 27 are various ancient Jewish readings. And another 11%, we have no idea what they are. And ooh, let me tell y'all, this is gonna blow your mind. You ready? The last 25% are copies of the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament, with every book accounted for except the book of Esther.
Wait. Sis, did you say the Old Testament?
Yep.
What?
Girl, shut your mouth.
That's crazy.
My mind is blown.
Ancient
I ain't gonna lie.
copies of the Old
pretty
Testament?
amazing.
That's crazy.
Now, I need y'all to understand something. I am using the word scrolls very loosely because a lot of them were like fragments or pieces that researchers had to put together.
Most of those manuscripts, when they were found, were actually all in pieces. A lot of them are very little pieces, actually. A large part of the early work after they found them was putting these pieces back together again into the original scrolls.
But a handful of them are actually scrolls, with the real MVP being the Isaiah scroll.
Now, I said the Isaiah scroll is the MVP because, first of all, it is the best preserved of all of the ancient scrolls found. Second, it is a very nearly, almost totally complete copy of the book of Isaiah. And third, it is made of 17 sewn together pages of parchment paper, making this thing 24 feet long.
But the value of the Dead Sea Scrolls doesn't hit until we start talking about the dating for the scrolls. And when I tell y'all, it gets even better. And once we talk about these dates, y'all, it's gonna take it to a whole nother level. So y'all sit tight, because we definitely gonna get into the dates next time.
Next time on Just So You Know.
1,000 years earlier than the ones that we had before.
Then that means that we have copies of the Hebrew Bible that date between the 3rd century BCE and the 2nd century CE.
Yeah, it just kind of provides perspective, kind of, I'd say, a 3D dimensional perspective of what the life of Jesus and the disciples and those who lived in the 1st century period were like.